I'm Molly Taylor, and I'll be talking about Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. The poem begins to where you can immediately tell that this poem is a recollection of events, because it starts off in line 1 saying, "It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea," which continues on into line 2. And throughout the poem, you can tell that this is a very painful memory for him to recall. He's struggling to tell this story, and when I say he, I mean the narrator, which could be anyone, but since the poem is by Edgar Allan Poe, it leads me to believe that it was him that is the narrator of this story. It's a poem about love, or so it leads me to believe, because he's talking about his childhood lover, Annabel Lee. And what he's really trying to get across is that this was not just some childhood crush, you might say. He wants the audience to know, the reader to know, that this was real love, according to him, and maybe Annabel Lee, but you don't really get her in, but he wants them to know that this was something real, and even though they were kids, it was still love. And he just goes on and on trying to get that point across throughout the poem. The character relationship. It's a young girl and a young boy, obviously in love, Annabel Lee and the narrator, potentially Poe. He wants the audience to know that death will not separate him from his love. The angels, which is a significant event in the text, come and take Annabel Lee's life. And Poe just seems sad about it. He's just envious. He is sad. And it hurts him that they had to do this. And strangely enough, he goes and he lays with her dead body every night, as it says in lines 38 through 41. He says, "And so, all the night-tide, I lay down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea." The sepulchre is her tomb. It's essentially a structure where someone is buried. I just find it strange that even though she's dead, he goes there. I don't think it literally means he sleeps there, but I just think he visits her constantly. He misses her dearly. The setting, it talks about the kingdom by the sea. That is repeated over and over. 4, 5, 6 times. That's repeated. It's maybe a childhood place where he grew up. He wants them to know it's near the sea. It's near someplace beautiful. Now to the structure. Sorry, it's a bit out of order, but the structure. There's 6 stanzas with 6 lines in stanzas 1 and 2. There's 8 lines in 3. You would think that the same would go for 4, 5, and 6, the same pattern, because stanza 4 has 6, but when you really look at it, you notice that stanza 5 has 7 and 6 has 8. This is kind of confusing because the rhyming seems a bit strange, but it all works out. There is an A-B rhyme. He's only rhymes it with, the only words he rhymes together are see, Annabel Lee, me, and we. There's 4 words that rhyme, but all the rhymes revolve around the name Annabel Lee. She is in every stanza. She usually rhymes with me or see, and occasionally, once I think, it says we, and it rhymes with that. And I think that the tension throughout the poem just builds because of this. It just gets bigger and bigger until the end when he says, that she's just laying there in her tomb by the sea. The themes are love. They fell in love, and their love is challenged by death. The death, it took a toll on the narrator. It was so hard for him to see the angels take Annabel Lee away and him to lose his lover. That was just, I think that's why he goes to her tomb every night, or so he says. Another huge theme in this poem would have to be envy. The angels are envious of their love, or so the narrator believes. Poe / the narrator is envious of the fact that the angels were able to take away Annabel Lee and his lover or whoever. He's just envious of that fact. The tone of the poem, the narrator seems sad about the passing of his lover. It's very depressing. He just seems sad / envious of the angels for having the ability to take her away. And in the poem, it doesn't necessarily call them angels. It does one time in line 30, but it also calls them seraphs, which is an angelic being. So it's not necessarily coming out and saying the angels took them away or God took her away, but it says seraphs. That's an angelic being. Possibly Poe had a passing in his life and he was angry at God for it. Or maybe it was just a declaration of love. We're not really sure. But either way, this poem is very difficult to analyze, and Edgar Allan Poe clearly wrote a masterpiece.